scientists are liars, and they knowingly lie to students and perpetrate lies in textbooks. Have I characterized that correctly? So the question is this true? Is this actually true? Are some scientists liars and they perpetrate lies, knowingly lying to people? Is this really true? The answer is no, it's not. Mistakes are made, as all humans do. You're the ones that talk about sin and so forth. Mistakes are perpetrated quite by accident, and usually, in fact, all of the examples that Dr. Hoving gave, and that's only a handful. There's lots more mistakes that get published in textbooks. All of them, without exception, I haven't found one, was discovered by other scientists, not by creationists. The scientists themselves nail each other on these things. That's one of the beautiful self-correcting natures of science. In terms of like Haeckel's famous embryological drawings. He was nailed in his own time for this. Then how did it end up in textbooks? You will never find any of the examples that Dr. Hoving gave in scientific papers or monographs or professional books by scientists for other professionals. Then how is it these things survive in textbooks? The problem is not of science. The problem is textbook publishing. And the problem is not just science, it's in all the sciences. It's in history books. It's in all textbooks. The reason is because, well, this is a whole other issue, but it has nothing to do with science. It has to do with textbook publishers and just sort of not checking their facts, or they hire fact checkers that are not qualified to do this. It's a serious problem, but it's an educational problem, not a scientific one. When the errors are discovered, they are taken out. You won't find Haeckel's drawings anywhere in modern textbooks published in the last few years. You won't find it anymore, along with any of the other errors he brought up. And in any case, the point is that this is what scientists do. And frankly, I resent the use of the word liar. I think it's a low blow. I think it's a rhetorical, sneaky trick on the part of a propagandist, not a man interested in science and truth. The second half, I'll turn on the PowerPoint here. I just want to make a few words, say a few words about religion and just plant this little seed. Because we're being told by Dr. Hoving in particular that the Christian story in particular is absolutely true in its veracity and has scientific evidence to support it. I believe that. One of the things that led me away from belief in that was the realization that these stories are not original to Christian stories or to the Bible. For example, in the 1st century AD, living in Asia Minor, there was a man named Apollonius of Tyana. His followers claimed he was the Son of God, that he was able to walk through closed doors, heal the sick, cast out demons, and raise a dead girl back to life. He was accused of witchcraft, sent to Rome before the Count, was jailed but escaped. After he died, his followers claimed he appeared to them and then ascended to heaven. This is a classic story. It's the Isis-Osiris story. It's the destruction, redemption, flood myth that I told you about. It's the starting over. This 3 days and coming back. This is found in lots of cultures. It's not original to the Christian story. Next slide. You see, in fact, the evidence that God and religion, if I'm going to say something positive, then where does the concept of God come from? It's humanly constructed. I mean, how many of you, we had a show of hands, or we had everybody stand up that believe in God, how many of you believe in Zeus? Okay, so you're Zeus atheists. We had one hand up here. Okay, all right, well, God bless you, or whoever. So you're all Zeus atheists. In fact, there's been roughly 10,000 different gods and 10,000 different religions in the last 10,000 years, rough order of magnitude. I contend that all of you are atheists for 9,999 of those gods. The only difference between me and you is just that one other God. That's it. That's the only difference. Next slide. So, for example, there's lots of creation myths. There's lots of them. Which of these, Dr. Hoving, should we teach in public schools or in any schools? The no creation story from India, the slain monster creation story from Sumeria, Babylonia, the primordial parents creation stories from the Zuni Indians, the cosmic egg creation story from Japan, the world was created from an egg, from primordial parents, from a slain monster, The spoken edict creation story from the Mayans, Egyptians, and Hebrews. The world sprang into being at the command of a God. This one's yours. The sea creation stories. The world was created out of the sea or water, oceans, lakes, something like that. Next slide. In fact, flood myths are culturally constructed. We know over the last roughly 2,000 to 1,800 years before Christ, the famous Babylonian Epic of Gilgamesh. This predates the Noachian flood story. Flood stories are common to cultures that live on bodies of water that flood. Now, does this make your flood story false? My contention is that to ask whether the flood actually happened or not is to miss the point of the story. You miss the point. All these stories, the point isn't whether they're true or not. The point is, what's the message behind it? So I would suggest you read the Bible in a different way. What are these stories trying to tell us? Really geological scientific knowledge? Really? Is that what they're trying to tell us? Or might there be something a little deeper in the message? Let's go to the next slide. There is evidence, in fact, that from brain research that you can stimulate certain parts of the brain. People hear the voice of God. They see God. They hear angels. They talk to angels. You can stimulate different parts of the body. They have out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences. So the belief in God, the construction of religion, is social, cultural, psychological, and so forth. This doesn't mean it's absolutely not true. Maybe there's people that do this research that are believers claim that this is God's way of communicating with us. Okay, maybe. But let's not just be simplistic and say it's black and white, these people are liars, and we're right. The real story is more subtle, more sophisticated, and more complex than that. And I would ask you to think for yourself, do a little reading, do a little expansion of your thinking along these lines, and see what else is out there. Thank you.
Here's how we propose to handle the questions. I will borrow one of the handheld mics here. We have 2 rows here. And please come and form up if you have a question for our panel. And as I said, we will take 3 questions at a time and allow our individuals to do. I also agree with Michael, especially for the young people here. You must do your reading, especially Josephus and Tacitus, as the Romans recorded that there was a man named Jesus, and he was crucified in 33 A.D. I just want to make sure that we do not confuse the myth of Gilgamesh with that. Just a little history. Just a little history. Just the facts.
Yeah,
3 in a row.
Moderator. You're the moderator. You're not supposed to join in against me. I already have 3,000 people against me, Hugh. You're supposed to be neutral.
I just like to bring
No.
Just a question, no statements.
One quick statement, Dr. I am on your side.
Okay. Quick question.
Your statement about 10,000 gods over the 10,000 years.
Yeah. It's probably more than that, but
probably pretty well proves the point that there is the one true God, because there's 6 billion of us who believe in him. But where is the body of Christ? We had the Jews and the Romans both that had an interest in keeping it in the grave. It's not there.
Okay, good question. Let's get 3 in a row.
3 questions, sorry.
Judge?
Can you assess the present state of scientific evidence relative to carbon dating and other methods of determining passage of time?
And the 3rd?
There was a statement about some dimensional bubble or something like that. There could be an infinite number of those. Well, if there is a dimensional bubble, what's beyond that? And if there is something, what's beyond that?
Dr. Hovind, respond to any or all of those 3 that you would like. Whatever you'd like.
Okay, did I get my mic on? Okay. The body of Christ, of course, you're very right, had many people had an interest in making sure that was never seen. They actually sealed the tomb and put a guard there. I think that it's very evident that Jesus did rise from the dead. There were well over 500 witnesses. If you look at the change in the disciples, when they're standing at the foot of the cross, they're scared stiff, they're running and hiding, they're scared they're going to lose their life. A couple of days later, these are the bravest men in the world. There was an incredible change in their life. If you look at the historical evidence, you'll say, man, Christ rose from the dead. I think you'd find many millions of people today